Good evening, I'm Kathy Lewis. You may think of Hampton Roads as the place you call home or the place you call a duty assignment. But those of us who love this place think of it as a great canvas on which to paint the scenes of our lives. And increasingly, Hampton Roads is becoming a great canvas for Hollywood, too, a backdrop for television shows and motion pictures. Lisa Godley reports that Hampton Roads has an increasingly impressive list of credits.
We may not have big letters mounted on a hillside alerting everyone that this is the place where big stars and their movies are made, but there's no denying that when it comes to movies and television, things are happening in Hampton Roads.
I need you gone.
The independent film Dismal was shot on the outskirts of Suffolk in and around Whaleyville, not only bringing in faces familiar to the big screen, but utilizing some local talent as well. And who can forget the week in 2005 when Paramount used the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel as a backdrop for a scene in Mission Impossible 3.
This area is rich with locations. You can be at the beach, you can be in downtown, you can be in a quaint little town like Smithfield or downtown Suffolk. You can be very urban, you can be farmlands, you can be military bases. There are so many things we have to offer here.
Jeff Frizzell runs the Hampton Roads Film Office, and he knows movies. He was the executive producer on Dismal. He says one of the most costly things about making a movie is having to move cast, crew, and equipment from location to location. But with Hampton Roads offering so many different looks in one geographic location,
it makes it, pretty appealing to shoot.
Hampton Roads isn't just appealing for films. This area also seems to be a perfect place for national commercials, like this spot shot for the U.S. Army Reserve at the Waterside Parking Garage.
Commercials have come in here with budgets, over $1 million. We did a national Nike commercial that was shot by Tony Kaye, who directed American History X, and had Michael Vick in it. In Colonial Williamsburg, they did a tourism commercial, and they wanted it to look like a movie trailer. So they hired Oscar-nominated director of photography John Schwartzman, who did, he was Oscar-nominated for Seabiscuit, but he also did Armageddon, Meet the Fockers, Pearl Harbor, and he came and filmed that, and it turned out to be an excellent project.
Along with the movies come businesses that support the industry. Shane Cardwell, a 30-year veteran stunt car driver, opened a stunt car driving school here in Hampton Roads, and several local production companies call Hampton Roads home. MT Pictures produced Wicked Attraction, a program about a serial rapist in Canada for investigative discovery, and a documentary titled Inside American Skinheads for National Geographic. And then there's the work that the movies bring to local actors, like Lindy Fay.
I have worked in television and on films for about the last 10 years. And it's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of independent film work in this area, a lot of commercial work. I stay busy every week. It's good, and there can always be more in this area. We'd love to see more come to this area.
It was just 2 years ago that Hampton Roads received an honorable mention when Movie Maker magazine named the top 10 movie cities. Hampton Roads was described as a city on the rise.
So there's been a lot of different features that have come through. Most recently, one that's not been released yet called The Box. And you ask what's happened to our industry, and that's a good example. They shot most of The Box in Massachusetts and pretended it was in Richmond. But the tax incentives that other states are offering and financial incentives for production companies to come to their areas have really kind of slowed down our big feature film work. We still get a lot of independent feature film work, though.
Things may not be rolling along as quickly as some would like here in Hampton Roads, but the region sits ready with great backdrops and talent anytime a filmmaker is ready to say, lights, cameras, action. For What Matters, I'm Lisa Godley.
And joining us tonight to explore the film industry in Hampton Roads, David O'Donnell, who's Vice President of Development at New Dominion Pictures in Suffolk. Jeff Frizzell is the Commissioner of the Hampton Roads Film Office. Hunter Thomas is a film director and chairs the Virginia Production Alliance. And Keith Flippin is a film actor and an instructor with the Actors Place in Virginia Beach. Welcome, and thanks to all of you for being with us tonight.
Nice to meet you.
I feel in company of true professionals. Well done. This has been such an interesting show to put together because we really, I think most people are not quite aware of how much film, television work is in this community. It's pretty amazing. Jeff Frizzell, I know you have the job of sort of going out and putting a lot of those deals together, or at least making sure that people know about Hampton Roads as a location. Is that job getting easier now that, as Lisa reports, the area is sort of rising in the list of places that are fun to do business?
Well, it's always tough to get productions to come in because all the states compete for the productions and some offer incentives. We do not have a large incentive package to bring production companies in, but still there are some things we have here. We shot a lot of the miniseries John Adams up in Williamsburg, and so there are things you can't replace here that production companies can't get elsewhere. Is
it competitive within the Commonwealth in terms of locations? I mean, are we pretty competitive with, say, Richmond or Northern Virginia?
Oh, sure. Actually, regionally, Northern Virginia is always #1 because of D.C., and Hampton Roads is #2.
Well, good. So we're moving up in the world, as they say. Keith Flippin, nice to have you with us here. And
nice to be here.
You're a professional actor, and I was interested in how you make that happen here in Hampton Roads.
Well, you know, unfortunately, lately it's been very difficult to make happen here. But I started this as a career when Virginia was booming in the mid '90s. We had an incentives program, actually, I believe, in the mid '90s that was attracting film here. So
that was a statewide program.
It was a statewide program, yeah. And right out of college, I started doing. There were films that were CBN was shooting films in the area, so that's where I got my union membership. And then after that, it was movies of the week, and there's just a lot of stuff going on.
What kind of characters do you typically play?
Ooh, I don't know anymore. There was a time when I was mainly coroners and police officers, and as I lost my hair, apparently there are no bald coroners.
Apparently not.
It just doesn't work. So lately it's been lawyers and heads of racing associations.
All righty then. So, there you go. And there could be work in the biopics for failed banking executives coming up.
Oh, and I'm right for that.
Yeah, I'm seeing a future for you.
I will call my agent immediately.
There you go. But you have gotten together and developed this acting school or acting classes, and I think that's something a lot of people don't realize, that there are opportunities to learn the craft of acting right here in town.
Yeah, I'm glad you called it that, actually, because so many people think that the industry is just about a face and an opportunity, and really it's not. It's on the professional level, it's about once you get in the door, being able to hold up your end of the bargain and being able to act, and acting is a craft and an art.
Yeah.
And it's the only thing you have control over in this business, because when you're an actor, you don't know why you are or are not cast in the end. You could be
really?
Oh yeah. I mean, you go to an audition, you could be the best guy that walks in the room, and you don't get the job, and it's because your eyes were the wrong color. You were a little too.
That's hard though, because if you walk out of it and you think, well, gosh, I think it was that, maybe it wasn't that.
And you have no even getting the job isn't validation, because maybe physically you matched a type. So the whole thing is caprice.
Yeah.
But the only thing you have control over is your ability to do your job as well as you can.
And you're able to cobble this living together with some work here in the community, but a lot of work out of town.
A lot of work out of town.
And I'm looking at Minority Report, for example.
That was a great job. It was a Steven Spielberg film that he shot a part of in Gloucester and part of it in D.C. I got to work in D.C.
Yeah, and so you had to go some in town and
some in town. I do in town. I do voiceover work through Earworks in town. I also do
audio production facility.
Fantastic facility, good people. I do some local television commercial work and industrial work through like Coastal Training Technologies out of Virginia
Another
Beach.
great company.
But most of the rest of the time I spend on the road. The busiest place in the country the last couple of years was Louisiana, because they had the best incentives.
Right.
Georgia this year, busiest place in the country, because they bested Louisiana in the incentives game.
Louisiana was where you did Ruffian. Yeah, tell us about that.
Ruffian is the story of a famous filly, a racehorse from the 1974 Kentucky Derby, and she ends up doing a match race against the Kentucky. I'm sorry. different place. But she does a match race against the Kentucky Derby winner of the year, and she blows out her leg.
Yeah.
And it's a tragic story. All my friends came to watch it at my studio, and when it hits the point where her leg breaks, they just gasp.
Can't do it.
And they ran out.
It's a terrible sound.
It's a gut-wrenching moment.
It's a terrible, terrible sound. Well, it's good to have you with us, and I'm
Nice
glad
to
you're
be
in the
here.
community, because this is the part of the point of the conversation is to let you know that you can put this living together, particularly as Hampton Roads sort of moves up the line in terms of opportunities for film. And as you probably know, Richard Dreyfuss was here being honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the On Film Festival, which was a co-venture between Old Dominion University and the city of Norfolk. That, of course, got underway about a week or so ago, I guess it was. We were all over at Old Dominion, where Richard Dreyfuss spent several hours actually talking about less about films and more about citizenship, but that seemed to be all right with most of the folks who were here. And that was, Jeff, the first one of the opportunities for an honest-to-goodness juried film festival, right?
It's the first time Old Dominion's been doing the festival for about 11 years.
Right.
3 years ago, they teamed with the city of Norfolk, and this year was the first time it was competitive versus being retrospective.
Yeah, it's just a great opportunity, no question about it. Hunter Thomas chairs the the Virginia Production Alliance. Nice to see you tonight.
Thank you.
What does the Production Alliance do?
It's a statewide organization that was formed to promote production in the Commonwealth.
Right.
I'm actually the chair for the Hampton Roads chapter.
Oh, I see.
There's 3 chapters. There's the statewide, and then there's the Richmond chapter, Hampton Roads, and then I think a southwestern.
Oh, actually, this is Northern Virginia.
Oh, there. Okay. So it's growing. It's getting bigger. What we do is we lobby our delegates for film incentives. And with that, we just had a big film day a couple months ago now, and we all went up and told our stories of why we want to stay here in Virginia and how important it is for filmmakers to stay at home and work,
right,
and how much money it brings in.
And that's a great point, because when we're talking about the money that it brings in, it really does. It's not just beds on the pillow at night and hotel rooms.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of other ancillary business, isn't it?
It is. It's goods and services. It's people. Well, one of the stories I like to tell is that not only do all the people coming in to make the film shop in all the stores, because we have to shop at hardware stores, and we have to build sets and wardrobe and makeup. Everything has to be purchased locally because you're not going to really ship it in necessarily. But the other part of that is when movies are not made here, when films are not made here, our community, our film community, which I think is 6,000 strong in Virginia, I think that's one of the figures I got, we have to leave. Like when Keith has to leave to go shoot elsewhere. And when I think about that, I think about someone like me who eats out almost every single meal, and I take that money with me.
Sure. So it's not just about what's coming in with productions, it's about what's going out by not having it here.
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting point.
Exactly. So that's kind of the VPA's main purpose. But the other benefits of membership is we do a lot of networking. We have monthly meetings where people socialize and network, and then we do lots of educational things.
Sure.
And, things to keep our chops up, and seminars on.
Well, and there's so much new technology now.
Yes.
That's it seems like something's new on that every other day.
In fact, one of the seminars we have planned for later this year is all about HD, because it's a whole other animal.
A whole different thing, my friends.
Even seasoned filmmakers are, kind of not quite sure, should we use this ratio? Or, I don't even know the lingo.
I don't even, you throw 3 words out there and it'll get you through any cocktail party. That's my theory. you just say them with confidence and people think you really know what you're talking about. That's at least that's how I've managed for many, many years.
That's acting.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we're talking tonight about the film industry here in Hampton Roads, which is a thriving industry, but could be a lot better if we had a couple of things we don't have now. So when you go to the legislators and you say, gosh, it'd be really great if we had some incentives that would help to bring films to the region, what's their reaction?
I'm relatively new to this experience, but what I got was kind of well, I'll listen to you, but I'm not going to give you anything.
Yeah.
And
it's a tough economy, and so that's a piece of it.
They didn't want to, it was a polite thing.
Right.
But what was put into place before I even came on board was, I think the powers that be said, look, we're not giving you any money. We're not going to. So go out and think of something creative, and if we like what you say, come on back and we'll have a listen. Well, they did. It's SB 1421, and it is a 5% media tax on
This is the Senate bill that. Yeah.
Senate bill, yes, yes. And from what I understand, I think today I got an email that said it passed. Oh, it did or didn't?
No, it has passed, and now it's just waiting for the governor's signature.
And what would this bill do?
Basically, it will put money into the governor's Motion Picture Opportunity Fund, and then that will allow you use that fund to give to production companies, much like we did with John Adams. The state put in $1.2 million to bring John Adams, the miniseries HBO, here, and in turn it created 3,500 jobs, and they spent $80 million in the state. That's not economic impact, but real dollars spent, $80 million in Virginia. So you take a little bit and you make it a lot.
Is to leverage the investment
Correct.
and to leverage the investment over time. Keith Flippin is with us as well tonight. He's an actor and instructor. No, Keith is over here. Sorry, David.
David O'Donnell's over there.
I'm sorry.
We're both
It's
bald,
one of those days. That's what it was. I was deeply confused. And I know this too. David O'Donnell is the Vice President of Development at New Dominion Pictures. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
And we were talking about this. New Dominion has undergone a lot of change. It's a big facility out in Suffolk. You probably may have seen it off the interstate. One wonders. But it's a wonderful state-of-the-art facility, but it's gone through a lot of different changes to keep up with the times.
That's right. The business model that worked for us when we were creating a ton of these reenactment-driven docudramas was to have everything in-house. We needed a lot of crew. We needed post-production there. We were just churning things out really fast.
And just to remind people, at that time, you were doing a lot of New Detectives or
FBI
files,
critical
these sort
rescue,
of reenacting
past
crime
tense
scenes.
stories told through reenactments.
Yeah. A lot of people in this area making money reenacting murders. It's sad, but it was a business.
What are you going to do?
Bodies
found by dogs.
That's right.
That's true.
But the market's not quite there for that so much anymore.
The reenactment shows are becoming a lot less popular. We are obviously adapting to the market, and we've sort of become like most other production companies, a small business and creative core, and we will accordion up and down with productions as they come in.
And so as you think about that, do you think you'll remain in Suffolk, or what do you think? Because that's a big facility you have there.
It is. It's great. It's a great facility. It might be too big for us.
Okay.
We're not sure yet, but we're considering if we should move to a smaller suite of offices. We're committed to staying in Hampton Roads.
That's good
Whether
news.
that's stays in Suffolk, not sure, but we will stay in this area.
Why did you make the decision to stay in Hampton Roads? I think that has universally been greeted with great joy, because New Dominion is certainly one of the state-of-the-art facilities that was really creating a lot of those synergies that were bringing work here. But clearly, you've got other options of where to go.
We do, and we've considered others, but this is where our families are. We love it here, and it's been successful for us. Most of our cable contacts are in the D.C. and New York area, so it's easy to get there.
So it's an easy commute,
It's easy to call and video conference with L.A., and it's easy to fly out there. So we're really, since it's been so successful, we're going to stay.
Yeah. So where do you think the business is going in terms of New Dominion? I mean, if it's not crime reenactment, where do you think it is? Because we see a lawful. Look, I saw 2 shows this week that had to do with beauty pageant reality for little kids. Kind of creepy. I'm not going to lie to you, but
we don't have a beauty pageant show in development.
Yeah, I think that market's kind of saturated right now.
We have some shows in development that are similar to ones we've done in the past, in that they're past tense, some crime related. They'll be less reenactment driven because that style is not as popular. But we're also developing shows that are science shows. We've got some reality shows, some observational documentaries.
Interesting. But this development thing is complex, because you have to invest a lot to develop an idea before you ever really have an idea that somebody's going to say, yeah, we like that, let's go with that.
And somebody told me the other day that they think the average is 30 to 1. You pitch 30 shows to every one you get greenlit. So it takes a lot.
And you have to have a tape, and you have to have a demo.
Often, sometimes it doesn't start there, but it gets there. But it takes a long time to figure out a show and that works specifically for that network and what they want. You got to hit it at the right time to the right people.
And then the network could decide they've moved on, as they sometimes do.
Very often there'll be a regime change, and when the new people come in, they clear the slate of all the stuff that the other people had put in, and so
it's a high stakes business.
It is.
Yeah, but you
it's
like
exciting.
it.
We love it.
Yeah. And so what specifically do you do? I know that you're in the end of creative and development and all that. But I mean, do you consider yourself to be an administrator? Are you a corraller of creative people? Are you the one who wakes up in the middle of the night and says, oh my gosh, I've got it, let's do this?
It's a little bit of the creative and a little bit of the administrative. I have to maintain the relationships with the networks to really understand what they want.
Sure.
So that when I pitch them a show, I know that it's something that they would probably consider. And then the creative comes in creating it. And it's easy to have an idea. Ideas are easy, but shows are hard. And you have to you have to present it.
Yeah,
so
that whole
they
once a week is the first one's really good, and then maybe not so much. Yeah. Well, Jeff Frizzell, if you could have a green screen, keeping with our motif, what would you put up against that green screen that would make the perfect situation to enhance the film industry in Hampton Roads?
Well, really, it is all about the incentives. Back in the early 90s, everybody talked about runaway production because Canada figured out they could lure Hollywood there by giving them money to come, and they would spend money. And then Louisiana, then New Mexico, Massachusetts, all these people got involved in the incentive game to as high as 40% cash.
What does that mean when you say 40% cash?
If you come to my state and spend $10 million on a movie, I write you back a check for $4 million.
Wow.
And the producers take that money and either put it in their pocket or back in their films.
Sure.
And we've lost several films to states with incentives, some that were written locally, written for Virginia. A good example, Richard Kelly, he did a little film called Donnie Darko, kind of a quirky cult film that he wrote and directed. And he was born in Newport News, raised in Richmond. He wrote a script called The Box. It starred Cameron Diaz, Frank Langella, and James Marsden. And it was all happened in Richmond and some in NASA, Langley, and Hampton. And we lost it to Massachusetts because they had a 25% incentive that they could give them. They went to Massachusetts and recreated Monument Row and U-Crops. In Massachusetts. And when you see the film, when it comes out...
we've got it here. Yeah, they knew that, right?
Yeah. And when they see the film and you come out, they will say they're in Richmond, but they're in Massachusetts. They did shoot 5 days at NASA Langley because they could not recreate a wind tunnel, thank God, or the big gantry. Yeah. But they spent almost $3 million in that 5 days they were here. They hired over 100...
In 5 days, $3 million.
Hired over 100 extras. They had a press conference scene. It was a period show that happened in the 70s. They rented like 50 70s models, cars, for scenes driving by and outside in the full parking lot at NASA, and so they bring a lot of money in.
And you don't think about those kinds of things when you first think about films coming in. So ask you the same question. When you go to legislators and you say, hey, because I guess that's where it would come from, right? You go to legislators and say, hey, look, I've got the math on this. I can show you how this works, and whiz bang, there it is. And we're getting beat out by other states. What do they say?
Well, the problem is so many people are looking for so much money, and everybody knows the woes in Virginia. We have transportation problems. Sure. We have education problems. We have healthcare problems. And we walk in and say, I need money for Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
And they say, why? He's got plenty. Well, because if I give him a little bit, he'll come here and leave a whole lot. I had one person tell me that, we are talking about in our city having to go to trash collection every other week. And how can I give you money when we have to do that? I said, well, number one, the trash will continue to get collected, and the trash man won't leave $20 in the empty can.
There you go. There you go. And this, you are running up against, to some extent, in addition to just sort of the philosophy of it, you are running up against a pretty ugly economy at the moment. So for you then, Keith, is this just sort of a waiting game till things get better?
Wow. It's interesting. My work has not really been curtailed except in the industrial training film market, because it's in an economy like this that companies won't spend the money on the training of the employees, and so I've seen that work drop off. Regular work I had in, say, the Research Triangle Park in North Carolina for IBM or for GlaxoSmithKline. But the rest of the entertainment work is still happening. We have actually been under a de facto strike since last July. Screen Actors Guild.
Yes. Yeah.
They've been...
I'm saying like I'm a member of the SAG. I'm totally not, but whatever.
It's just interesting. We were supposed to renegotiate our theatrical contract last year with AFTRA, the American Federation of
Television and Radio Artists.
Them, right. I call them them because they negotiated without us last year and made their own deal, and so SAG kind of went at it on their own, and it's dragged out for months and months and months.
So lots of factors at play.
Well, yeah, and you can't. Nobody will start a film because if they start a film and SAG strikes, then they have to stop. And so there are all of these films in backlog, feature films, waiting to be made, which is why an incentives program now would be a beautiful thing, because they're going to be just a flood of the things.
The dam will burst, and then we will not be in a good position to take advantage of that opportunity.
Right.
All righty. Well, thanks to all of you for being with us. And Jeff Frizzell from the Hampton Roads Film Office, David O'Donnell from New Dominion Pictures, best of luck No beauty pageants for kids. Just promise me that. Hunter Thomas, good to see you, and best of continued success with the lobbying efforts. And Keith, good luck with the Actors Place. Nice to have you all with us tonight.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be back in just a moment with a look at our mailbag. All that and more in just a moment. After our two-part look at the Virginia General Assembly session last month, Bill Harrell took a dim view of public-private partnerships. Public-private partnerships, he wrote, are not good for economic development. They're good for Republicans, he writes, who haven't done their jobs and get campaign contributions from these developers. And Delegate Glenn Oder, also a guest on that same program, forwarded us an email from a Hampton resident, interestingly not one of his constituents, who expressed bipartisan appreciation for the work that lawmakers do. My hat is off to all of you, Senator Miller and Delegate Oder, for working so hard to manage our Commonwealth. You presented nicely to the audience and made us proud. A footnote on those General Assembly broadcasts: when we developed the guest list, we were aware that it was an all-peninsula panel. We wondered whether you would notice it. And our first writer, Mr. Harrell, apparently did. Thank you for focusing on the peninsula for a change. Professor Kidd and Kimball Payne are top-notch guests. I've become a regular viewer and love watching the show in HD. Thank you, WHRO, for the only source for local government and politics on TV here in Hampton Roads. Thank you. While we did have an all-peninsula panel, the issues we discussed affect all of us in Hampton Roads, and our guests clearly had that vision as well, as most of our legislators do, as a matter of fact, and that's why we're committed to bringing as many of them as we can into your living room so that you can get to know the people whose decisions make a difference in your life. That's it for us on this edition of What Matters. We hope that you will be in touch with us. We are talking about lots of things in the coming weeks. You can write to us at 5200 Hampton Boulevard, Norfolk, Virginia, 23508. You can also email us at whatmatters@whro.org. That's it for this week's edition. We'll be back next week for another look at what matters.